Senator Jackie Rosen faced Trump's Pentagon pick. Pete Hegseth, a man who's called NATO a relic and suggested veterans should think twice before using the benefits they earned. When Rosen asked a simple question, should veterans feel ashamed for asking for care, he couldn't give a straight answer. This isn't just about veterans, it's about whether America will honor those who serve and stand by our allies or turn our back on both. Our veterans deserve better, our security depends on it. This wasn't just another Senate hearing. It was a moment that revealed everything about who we are as a nation and who we might become.
Thank you, Senator Kelly. I owe you one. Thank you, Chairman Wicker, Ranking Member Reed, for holding this hearing. And Mr. Hegseth, I appreciate your service and your willingness to serve again. However, I am deeply disappointed that you would not agree to meet with me, as other members have said on this committee prior to this hearing, as is the precedent for this committee and others. So let me tell you a little bit about what I would have talked about had you made yourself available prior to the hearing. Nevada is home to the premier aviation training ranges for both the Air Force and the Navy, the largest ammunition depot in the world, and the only place in the country where we are able to verify the reliability of our nuclear stockpile without the need for explosive testing. The Nevada National Guard is one of the only few units across the country with the mission of fighting wildfires. That's for another hearing. And currently activated to fight the devastating fires around Los Angeles in support of our neighbors. We therefore play a critical role in our national security, and the person who holds the position of Secretary of Defense matters greatly to Nevada service members and our military equities. But every single person who serves in the military, we've talked about, my colleagues, esteemed colleagues, have talked about recruitment and retention. One day, they will become a veteran. So my veterans and the folks who are serving active duty now are concerned about what you think. DOD does not have jurisdiction over Nevada's 200,000 plus veterans, but I am interested in your views about the service members once they've transitioned out of the military, given the influence you would have while they're in service if confirmed. In 2019, on a segment of Fox and Friends, you said that veteran service organizations, VSOs, I'm going to quote, encourage veterans to apply for every government benefit they can ever get after they leave the service. You stated you don't want to, quote, be dependent on government assistance from the VA based on injuries or illnesses that might have arisen from your military service. So I'm just going to ask you a few yes or no questions about veterans, understanding you don't have jurisdiction, but this is important to our morale, is important to our recruitment, and is important to our retention, and it is important to how we respect others in this country. So, yes or no, please, do you believe that VSOs are wrong to support veterans in obtaining the benefits that they have rightfully earned and deserved when they signed that line like you did for your service?
Senator,
yes or
veterans
no, please?
Deserve the benefits they've earned. I have been in many battles with traditional veteran service organizations over differences of opinion about how to deliver those services,
so yes
including
or no?
Veterans'
Do you believe
choice,
VSOs are wrong?
Which is VSOs is a very broad term. We were a VSO also, ma'am. But some of those services took a traditionally
should they be able to help
approach.
the veterans obtain the benefits that they have earned? Yes or no? Should anyone be able to help?
Every veteran should have rapid access to all the benefits that they've earned.
Do you believe that veterans should be ashamed for
Absolutely.
having sought and obtained the benefits that they have earned? Do you think veterans should be ashamed to seek out benefits?
Senator, I think
Yes or
we
no?
should be ashamed as a nation of the amount of veterans that commit
You think
suicide
veterans
because they hit a brick
should be
wall.
ashamed?
They commit suicide because
This is
they
not
hit a
the
brick
question,
wall
sir.
of the
I'm going to
bureaucracy
move
of
on.
the
I'm going to
VA.
take that
And
as a
reformers
yes.
are not courage enough.
How about veterans who suffer lasting
Take it on.
injuries or illnesses due to their military service? Do you think they deserve our support and assistance? I mean, your answers to these, they're too broad. People want to know, are you willing to support our veterans organizations that will help our veterans get every damn thing that they deserve because they signed on the dotted line to keep us safe, just like you did? I respect that. Will you?
Senator, with all due humility, I don't know that there's anyone in this room over the last 20 years that have worked harder to ensure that our veterans are taken care of. It
So
has been
do
a
you think
passion
veterans
of
are
my life,
dependent on the-
alongside with so many on this dais, to make sure that veterans receive, and it is a recruiting crisis.
But you
When
said that
veterans are
veterans are
not treated
dependent
well,
on the government.
they don't
You
want
said
their
veterans are
sons and daughters
dependent
to
on the
join.
government. Do you believe that veterans getting these benefits are dependent on the government? Or do you believe it's a benefit they've earned and deserved through their service?
It's a
Are they
benefit they've
dependent?
earned and
Then-
a hand up to
But
the
these are
next
your
chapter of their
words
life.
then. So you have again
Absolutely.
changed your position. Where you believe the veterans are dependent, now you believe they've earned and deserved it. I just think it's disrespectful to change that position. These are benefits that people may need throughout their life and may not know when they need them or how they're going to need them, and they need to be there when they do. Thank you. I'm going to move on to my next question. America's role in the world. Our alliances, the threats America's facing, they're serious, they're wide-ranging, from China to Russia to Iranian-backed terrorism. So do you agree with the National Defense Strategy that the U.S. cannot compete with China, Russia, and their partners alone, and certainly cannot win a war that way? And this is a quote from the National Defense Strategy. Is your interpretation that American first foreign policy is America alone? Does that include abandoning our allies and partners such as NATO, Taiwan, Israel, and others? And if we can't win alone and we don't strengthen our strategic partnerships, I would say that position, your position, places on a strategic path to lose to our adversaries. So maybe you're okay with choosing that path for America. I want to know how you square that position with the positions you articulated in your book, where you wrote that NATO is at relic, at best a distraction, and should be scrapped and remade. Are you okay with sending us down a path where we can't win?
Senator, the world has had, our friends in the world have had no better ally. Our allies and partners have had no better friend than President Donald Trump, who's reinvigorated a NATO alliance, who's stood behind Israel in every way, in ways this administration has not. He has ensured that the NATO alliance has become far more robust. He worked with allies in the Pacific as well.
Is Donald Trump going to stand behind Ukraine? Are you going to stand behind Ukraine? You say he's the strongest president. President-elect Trump said he will end the war in Ukraine before he takes office. Okay, so less than a week before he's inaugurated, to the best of your knowledge. Do you have knowledge of a plan that he's going to use to rapidly end the war with Ukraine? Do you believe it's feasible, that it does not make unacceptable concessions to Vladimir Putin, who is a brutal dictator? And are you going to give President-elect Trump the military advice that you have given others to achieve the objective of us winning the war in Ukraine? How do you think a rapid end to the war that Vladimir Putin started will affect the United States standing across the world?
Senator, I will always give clear guidance, best guidance to the President of the United States on matters like that.
Do you think that if we concede to Vladimir Putin that will hurt our credibility with our allies and partners? And do you not believe that our adversaries are watching?
Perhaps you can take that for the record, Mr. Hegseth.
Senator Jackie Rosen didn't walk into that room to play politics. She walked in carrying the voices of every veteran who has worn our uniform, been wounded in service, and then left to navigate a system that too often forgets them the moment they hang it up. Across the table sat Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump's nominee to lead the Pentagon, a man who has publicly questioned whether veterans should seek the very benefits they've earned. When Rosen pressed him with simple yes or no questions, should veterans feel ashamed for asking for the care and support they were promised, Hegseth dodged, spun, and stumbled. He couldn't give a straight answer, but this hearing wasn't just about veterans' benefits. It was about America's role in the world. Hegseth's past words dismissing NATO as a relic and echoing Trump's claim that he could end the war in Ukraine overnight paint a dangerous picture. An America willing to appease authoritarians like Vladimir Putin, weaken our alliances, and risk our credibility on the global stage. Rosen's questions cut to the heart of the matter. Will we honor the people who defend us? Will we stand with our allies against dictators? Or will we turn our back on both, leaving America isolated and vulnerable? What happened in that hearing was more than political theater. It was a warning about the cost of putting ideology over service and loyalty to one man over loyalty to the nation. If you believe our veterans deserve more than empty slogans, and that abandoning our allies puts us all at risk, this is the moment to pay attention. The Senate hearing for Trump's Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth became a defining moment on veterans issues, as Senator Jackie Rosen confronted him over his past statements and his approach to those who have served. Rosen, representing Nevada, a state with over 200,000 veterans and home to key national security assets, made it clear from the outset that this wasn't about political theater. It was about the lived reality of veterans who have earned benefits through sacrifice and service. She reminded the room that every active duty service member eventually becomes a veteran, and that how the nation treats its veterans directly impacts morale, recruitment, and retention in the military. Central to the exchange were Hegseth's past comments on Fox News in 2019, where he criticized veterans service organizations, VSOs, for encouraging veterans to apply for the benefits they had earned. He suggested that doing so risked creating dependence on government assistance. Rosen pressed him repeatedly. Did he believe veterans should be ashamed for seeking benefits tied to injuries or illnesses incurred in service to the nation? Hegseth's responses were evasive and contradictory. He initially tried to frame his position as a call for reform and efficiency, claiming that his passion had always been ensuring veterans are cared for, yet he repeatedly dodged giving a clear yes or no answer to Rosen's question about whether seeking benefits was a point of shame. When finally pressed, he conceded that veterans have earned their benefits, but pivoted back to concerns about dependency, a framing that rang hollow to those advocating for the rights of wounded and struggling veterans. Rosen's line of questioning exposed a dangerous disconnect. A nominee for Secretary of Defense, who seemed reluctant to fully and unequivocally affirm the dignity of veterans accessing the very benefits they were promised. Her persistence underscored a broader truth: supporting veterans goes beyond parades and patriotic slogans. It requires a commitment to ensuring that every veteran can access health care, mental health services, disability compensation, and other resources without stigma or delay. In a moment that resonated far beyond the hearing room, Rosen's defense of veterans was a reminder that the nation's obligations do not end when a service member hangs up the uniform. Her exchange with Hegseth revealed what's at stake: the credibility of America's promise to those who serve. In a tense Senate Armed Services Committee hearing, Senator Jackie Rosen, DNV, confronted Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth over what she framed as the dangerous consequences of the Trump-Hegseth, America First approach to national security. Rosen, a consistent advocate for strong U.S. alliances, drew sharp contrasts between her support for NATO, Ukraine, and Taiwan, and Hegseth's record of downplaying international partnerships. Rosen reminded the committee that NATO has been the cornerstone of U.S. and European security for 75 years, deterring Russian aggression and safeguarding democracy. She pointed to the ongoing war in Ukraine and the threat of Chinese aggression toward Taiwan as proof that strong alliances are not charity, but critical tools of American power. Abandoning our allies doesn't make us safer, Rosen said. It leaves America isolated, weaker, and more vulnerable to adversaries who want to see democracy fail. Hegseth, in line with former President Trump's America First rhetoric, offered a far more isolationist perspective. He framed long-standing alliances as costly entanglements, and argued that U.S. focus should be overwhelmingly domestic. Rosen challenged him on whether abandoning partners like Ukraine or weakening NATO would embolden authoritarian leaders, but Hegseth avoided direct answers, repeating that the U.S. cannot fight everyone's battles. Rosen's questioning painted a stark picture of the stakes. Retreating from alliances undermines U.S. deterrence, invites aggression, and could eventually pull America into even greater conflicts. History has taught us that when America withdraws, the world's most dangerous actors advance, she said, invoking both World War II and the recent failures of unchecked Russian expansionism. The exchange left a clear choice in view. Rosen represents the tradition of American leadership, committed to collective security, honoring treaty obligations, and using alliances as force multipliers. Hegseth embodies a turn toward isolationism, signaling that the U.S. might leave partners to fend for themselves. Critics warned that such a shift would weaken America's credibility, cede ground to adversaries like Russia and China, and ultimately make Americans less safe. By spotlighting this contrast, Rosen underscored that national security is not just about military strength, it's about the power of American commitments abroad. Her sharp questioning put Hegseth on notice: abandoning allies is a risk the nation cannot afford. In moments like these, When veterans' benefits, our alliances and America's role in the world are on the line, silence is not an option.
Yeah.
The contrasts we've highlighted between Senator Rosen's vision and Pete Hegseth's evasions reflect a bigger struggle over the soul of our democracy and the future of U.S. leadership. The stakes could not be higher.
Yeah.
Decisions made in hearings like this shape whether veterans get the care they've earned, whether our allies can count on America, and whether authoritarian regimes see opportunity or opposition. But awareness is only the first step. Engagement is what drives change. That's where you come in. If these stories resonate with you, don't just nod along. Share this episode of Liberal Lens with friends, post it to your feeds, and spark conversations about what's truly at stake. Subscribe to Liberal Lens so you never miss the deep dives and sharp analysis that cut through the noise. Your voice matters. Your engagement matters. Together we can shine a light on the truth, hold leaders accountable, and keep America on the path of progress. Watch, share, and subscribe today.